This is Jed Disler, and welcome to The Piano Maven, your friendly podcast guide to piano recordings. You can subscribe to The Piano Maven by going to my Substack page, and I've provided a link in our episode description. And please do consider taking out a paid subscription that entitles you to receive free downloads at the start of each month. And your contribution helps to keep this podcast alive and afloat. And the words alive and afloat, along with the words muscular and virility and vitality, pretty much describe a Beethoven Piano Concerto cycle that I think is one of the most engaging versions out there in the catalog. But it seems to receive little attention. Not that it received all that much attention when it was released nearly 40 years ago. But I started thinking about a couple of years ago when I was talking about Beethoven concerto cycles with my late friend Joseph Patridge, the recording engineer. And he told me, in fact, he was very insistent about this, that his favorite Beethoven concerto cycle on commercial discs was the one from pianist Anton Kuerti with the Toronto Symphony Orchestra under the direction of Andrew Davis. This was recorded 40 years ago in 1985 and originally issued on the CBC label. My copy of this cycle, my CD copy, is the original 3-disc set that was issued in 1986. But the main problem with this release was that each concerto had only one tracking point, just one track for the entire concerto, meaning that the 3 movements in each concerto did not have their own tracks, as they usually do. So if you wanted to hear the finale of the Emperor Concerto, for instance, you'd have to fast forward, and it was just such a pain to do that. I mean, you might as well have had cassettes. Fortunately, subsequent issues of this cycle on individual CDs did provide tracking for each movement, thank goodness. And the same goes for downloading, of course. So if you see that original 1986 3-disc set, with a copyright of 1986 in your local used record emporium or charity shop, proceed with caution. But what's really important is that Anton Kuerti is a stylish and enlivening Beethoven player. I found his 1970s recordings of the Beethoven sonatas very finicky and weighed down in detail. But in the concertos, it's a totally different picture. He conveys the gruff angularity and the inner drive of his teacher, Rudolf Serkin, in this repertoire. But I think with more warmth and sustaining power, especially in the slow movements. And you also get some of those exciting dynamic surges that Beethoven indicates and that pianists like Arthur Schnabel and Leon Fleischer illuminated by intensifying them, sometimes ever so slightly rushing ahead, which really contributes to the thrust and excitement and momentum. And left-hand accompaniments like Alberti basses have more shape and direction in Kuerti's hands than you usually hear. But there's plenty of inward calm and repose and singing legato in the slow movements. And the conductor, Andrew Davis, for his part, is an excellent accompanist. Now, you don't get the incisive and impeccably regimented ensemble values that George Szell and the Cleveland Orchestra bring to the table. But the Toronto Symphony's superb first desk soloists are real assets here. And also the particularly sweet yet never cloying strings are also a strong asset to these recordings. And also, as part of this cycle, we have one of the very best recordings ever of Beethoven's Choral Fantasy. And there's a very good performance here, too, of the not-so-interesting King Stephen Overture. So If you happen to see a physical copy of Anton Kuerti's Beethoven Concerto cycle, it certainly will do no harm to add it to your collection. You can also sample it, of course, by way of streaming, and I think if you hear this cycle, you're going to like it as much as I do. And I've been really happy to reacquaint myself with it recently. It's really held up well. This is Jed Disler, and you've been listening to The Piano Maven, your friendly podcast guide to piano recordings. I look forward to being with you for our next episode. So take care until next time.